Welcome to the Cinefied podcast, the show where we enlighten you on what film to watch next by discussing the latest projects brought either to the silver screen or the comfort of your home. Today we are discussing the highly anticipated horror film Weapons, a movie about a town thrown into turmoil after 17 students from one single classroom run off into the night and disappear with seemingly no explanation. The movie stars Julia Garner as Justine Gandy, Josh Brolin as Archer, and has some memorable side characters played by Austin Abrams, Amy Madigan, Benedict Wong, Whitmer Thomas, Clayton Ferris. The list goes on and on and on. Quite the cast. So the summary of the movie is when all but one child from the same classroom mysteriously vanish on the same night at exactly the same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. I'm Cassie Hager. Critics, we have Connor here, obviously. Connor Petrie, not Petrie. And then we have Trevor Lavelle. We're a small but mighty group tonight. So, hi, guys.
Bonjour.
Hey.
Oui. Okay. And the reviewer is me, will be me. Full disclosure, I haven't written the whole review yet because I just saw this last night and then had to work today. But the full review is coming. But I have a little blurb, which is like I wrote a Twitter reaction and then I added a little, extra in here. So this is what I had to say. I said, Weapons is a blast. The opening sequence is intoxicating, and what follows is a series of events that had me hooked. What a fab cast and a fun flick. Zach Cregger is the horror director to watch. Much will be debated about the movie's overarching message, varying tone and symbolism throughout, making it a thought-provoking and entertaining time at the theater. All right, so going through our non-spoiler reviews, I'll start with me, I guess, since I'm moderating. Overall, I thought it was really good. It was a lot funnier than I expected. Like, at times, it almost felt like a dark comedy, which I was, really not expecting. I really enjoyed Julia Garner's character in this. I think she's feeling like a niche in Hollywood of playing female characters that are really rough around the edges. Like, we saw her do that in Ozark, and she's really unique, and I feel like she has this kind of just face and talent that we don't see a lot of. Like, she's very relatable, I would say, and she just feels very real, and so I really like seeing her in everything she does, honestly. I thought the movie was it was scary. It was funny. There were, a few too many jump scares for my liking, but that's because I'm a wimp, so I was I also if I'm being really nitpicky, I would say I thought maybe the end dragged a little bit. I got a little bored as it went on, but overall, I thought it was a really great movie. So let's see, Connor, what do you think?
So I just recently dove into Barbarian for the first time. I held back on watching it, and I kind of had bits of it spoiled. So I wanted to make sure that with this podcast, and also just because I wanted to not have any spoilers, and that I wanted to make sure I saw it opening weekend. And one of my favorite things about the movie is the marketing, because the marketing is not revealing much of all. And I won't dive into it either until we get into spoilers. But I love the way that this film is sectioned off with the characters. I do agree with you that the last part of the film does seem to drag a little bit. I was almost hypnotized by the screen. Like, I wasn't paying attention to anyone in my theater. But then when the card came up, I believe the kid's name is Alex. Mm-hmm. And when it popped up, after that point, it kind of it was intriguing, but it kind of lost me a little bit because it seemed to be the longest, which it needed to be. But it's brutal when it wants to be. It's a really intriguing mystery, and I think I'm not a big fan of when the twist is revealed, what the reasoning for this happening is. I'm not a big fan of that subgenre. But I overall, I keep trying to go around spoilers, but I'll just stop and just say I really thought it was great. I think that it's a horror film that will definitely be at the top of my list for the year. I preferred this film over Barbarian, but I'm sure others will differ. And I just recommend people go out and see it opening weekend and support this director, because he's definitely a director that knows what he's doing when it comes to horror filmmaking.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Trevor, you're next. What are your thoughts?
There are two movies from this year that I feel like are made specifically for me. That was Mike Flanagan's Life of Chuck a few months ago, and this movie right here, Zach Cregger's Weapons. I thought this movie was an absolute blast and maybe a modern horror blockbuster masterpiece. It's got a very particular structure and even rhythm to it that reminded me of an early P.T. Anderson film, like either Magnolia or Boogie Nights, which are two of my favorite films personally ever of all time. So I kind of felt right at home. Alden Ehrenreich's character of Paul feels like John C. Reilly's character from Magnolia, directly plucked from that movie and put in a horror movie scenario. And it was such a surprise to me to feel like I was watching a early days P.T. Anderson movie, and it's a horror movie that's completely just terrifying me to my bone. I thought this was perhaps the scariest movie since Jordan Peele's Nope, and perhaps one of my favorite movies along this decade. I really loved Robert Eggers' Nosferatu as well, but that wasn't particularly scary. I loved the gothic romance element of that more. But this one personally, I was laughing. When I wasn't laughing, I was screaming. And it being funny was also no surprise due to Zach Cregger's background in sketch comedy. He during the 2000s, he was a part of a comedy group called The Whitest Kids You Know, where it was on Fuse for like one season and then IFC for the final 4 season, and that he was with a one of the other members was a comedian named Trevor Moore, who passed away a couple of years ago, and it came out about a week or so ago that there's a meditation on how he dealt with the grief of that passing of his friend. It's not confirmed if that's who it's talking about or not, but I feel like there's a clear connecting dots with that. However, outside of a meditation on grief, I think this is an excellent socioeconomic meditation on the modern American suburban nightmare, kind of like John Carpenter's Halloween. And yeah, I just thought it was meaty, compelling, scary as hell, funny as hell, just an all-around blast. And I thought I was having a blast in the last half. I know people are saying the back half of the movie is like when it kind of loses them. I was locked in. I thought it was perhaps one of the best horror finales, or one of the best finales actually, since Challengers, Jordan Peele's Nope, or even just the final hour of Oppenheimer. I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, awesome. Great. So remind me, was his friend who died, was that the one who fell off the balcony?
Yeah.
I remember that. I had forgot. I didn't realize they were friends. That was so sad. Jeez.
And of course there's Julia Garner and Josh Brolin as the two big roles in this film, and I think they're really fantastic. Julia Garner, I think I'm really finally seeing performances from her that I really liked, from Silver Surfer to Here Now, that I think are really great. Earlier this year, I saw her in Lee Winnell's Wolfman, and even though that movie was pretty disappointing, I thought her performance was maybe the best part of it. But here, it's all these people acting on very violent and ugly emotions, and they're in these very emotional and stressful places that it doesn't feel like they're really equipped to really handle, but they're really thrown to it anyways, and acting out on very complicated and perhaps very ugly feelings that they really need, that is being brought out from this deep evil within this American suburb.
Yeah. Go ahead, Colin.
With Julia Gardner, I've never seen Ozark, so I'm behind on that. So I'm really not overly familiar for work. I have surprisingly seen the 3 from this year that you mentioned, Trevor, Wolfman, Fantastic Four, now this. But I personally wasn't a fan of her performance in Wolfman, but Wolfman was just a polarizing miss for me. I think Fantastic Four, I thought she was good, but there's just not enough meat there. And then here, I thought she was fantastic. I think her, Josh Brolin, and the kid, I can't think of the actor's name. Like, I thought they were all terrific. And I looked at the young actor's filmography, and he just got cast in Lanterns, which is great for him. And he's like more of a soap opera. Like, he was in like 60 episodes of like a soap opera. So it's cool that because I mean, obviously people that do soap opera can, pivot into more dramatic and serious and good performances. But it just surprised me that this was a performance out of a soap opera person. So, but I do think overall the performances really grabbed me. And I do think that it is interesting that really Josh Brolin, he's really good, but he's not like doing anything that's like it's not like standing out. Like, it's not like any other actor could have taken this role. And that's one of my issues, is that I think he's really good, but he's not like standing out. He's just kind of like worried father. And I think you could have put it like Dylan Mulroney. I can't think of his name, from like American Horror Story. I can't remember.
Oh, Dermot Mulroney, Dylan McDermott.
Yeah,
I always get those two. Either of them.
Yeah, you gotta put either of them in there.
Exactly.
And so,
do you know the SNL skit? Is it Dylan McDermott or Dermot Mulroney?
No, was that an SNL skit?
That was an SNL skit.
I know it's a joke, like online. Everyone's like, which one is which? Like,
it's like a Doug Loves Movies game, if you ever listen to that podcast.
Oh, God.
Like, what do
so
you
funny.
do? But I mean, I really like the performances, but yeah, that was definitely, I think that definitely Julia stands out here. And who the actor that played the aunt, I thought was really great too.
Oh, yeah.
Amy Madigan from Uncle Buck.
She was crazy. Amazing. I saw someone online be like, Weapons is a cautionary story about what happens when you let a character actress into your house.
I'm dating one, so
you've been warned.
Accurate.
So don't say no one told you. So I was thinking at the time as I was watching it, I was surprised at how not incredibly likable Julia Garner's character was. Like, I was expecting her to be a little more like sympathetic, like Pollyanna, like scared teacher, like, oh no, but she wasn't. And again, that's why I say, like, I feel like Julia Garner was so well cast, because she's so good at playing those roles that they seem like, she seems like she's been through stuff. I don't know if she has, but she's good at pretending that she has been, yeah. And also this was her movie, but it wasn't. It was like very much ensemble, right? Like, it was very much an ensemble cast, and I feel like everyone really played off like well with each other. Do you guys want to hear my embarrassing story that I teased in the group chat? It's really not that big a deal. I just, how much I love doing interviews. So Whitmer Thomas did a movie with one of his friends like a couple years ago. It was called The Civil Dead. It was like an indie movie. And I know one of his friends, and I messaged his friend, and I was like, can you reach out to Whitmer and ask if I can interview like the two of them for their movie or whatever? And he was like, I'll ask. And so we did, and he was like, yeah, they said yes. And I was like, oh my God, great. That's so exciting, So we set up a Zoom interview and everything, and a Zoom link, and we did the interview, and it went really good. And we talked for like a half hour or something, and it was great.
Wow.
And then the next day I went to log, and I realized I hadn't recorded the interview. I didn't record the Zoom session. So I was like, what do I do? So I emailed them, and I was like, you guys, I'm so sorry, but are you busy today? Can you do that again? And so we had to redo the entire interview.
Oh.
And so now I didn't know he was in this movie. And when I saw him, I was like, oh God, like all the embarrassment came rushing back. See, it's not like horrible, but I'll never forgive myself for it. They were very kind about it. Like it was fine. But yeah, that's my embarrassing Whitmer Thomas story. So there you have it.
I didn't think it was gonna be like more personal like that. I thought it was gonna be like me when Alden Ehrenreich came on screen and he did those little wave. I was like, oh, it's the Nicholson guy, Ray Nicholson, and then when he came on like close up, I was like, no, it's not Ray Nicholson.
Dude, I thought it was like Taron. What's his name? Taron
Egerton.
Yeah, they all look the same.
I think a little more different. I think Trevor, do you see what I'm talking about with the Ray and Alden here?
I mean, I see that.
I don't see Ray Nicholson.
Okay.
I do see Taron Egerton.
Okay, thank you.
I am on the opposite
Thank
end.
you. All right. Anything else you guys want to add?
Well, the one thing is that my girlfriend's a teacher, and so we kind of felt the whole reason why she's not overly you don't feel overly like bad for her like sometimes is because she is like, even from what the principal said, she is overstepping. It's coming from a good place, but she is overstepping what a teacher is meant to do. So that's just kind of like when she's ultimately digging, if the film did not play out in her favor, I mean, and it was actually like, it turns out that she is the bad guy, it'd be like, yeah, well, she has this weird relationship with her kids that, but another moment before I forget it that I brought up is that if you're a teacher and you would have especially a younger kids and you have them go through making those arts and crafts and doing the names on the things and they all just disappear, you're gonna notice that. It was just like it's like so much color just like left that room when she took off all those name tags.
Good. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I guess she was so focused on the boy and making sure that he was okay. I don't know, but yeah, I see what you're saying. All right. Well, let's get into the questions. We kind of talked about this already, the role of Archer. We knew we had to talk about this with me moderating. So as we all know by now, Pedro Pascal was first slated to play the role of Archer, eventually was recast with Josh Brolin. So do we think Pedro would have been good in the role, or can you not imagine anyone else playing Archer? You already said it could have been basically any dude. I mean, what do you think? Could you see, as I was watching, of course, I was imagining Pedro in the role and thinking, yes, like he would have killed it. And I would love him just to see him play a role like this. But I mean, Josh Brolin was great too.
I mean, I personally, I was also thinking as Josh Brolin was performing, I was like, he gets so heated though. Like, I don't know if I've really seen Pedro get significantly like I'm not a big
Last
TV
of Us
person.
Man.
The Last of Us. I was about to say I haven't seen this. So
he can get there.
So I just, from not having that experience of The Last of Us, then I just didn't really see him because he's known to me as being overly calm. Even in Eddington, I mean, he's pretty calm.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, I personally really liked Josh Brolin's performance here and how, especially near the beginning, how angry he is and naturally so about the situation. And so, I mean, I personally think that they made the right move. And Zach has come out and said that they had to basically restructure the whole cast when Pedro left. So, I mean, who knows how many pieces fell off, and
they would have. I mean, they would have had to probably recast the son, right?
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
you know, so sure, yeah.
But that's what I got.
Yeah, not only Pedro was attached, but Brian Tyree Henry was attached at one point, and
Was
then
he?
and then also Renata.
I could imagine him. I could imagine. Oh, you saying like he was attached to be the dad? Or
I think he was
attached.
To
He
play
seems like he would be
Benedict
the
Wong.
principal.
Yeah, I could see that.
I'm not too sure what role he was supposed to be, but I think Justine, before Julia Garner stepped in, I think it was supposed to be Renata Reinsve from Worst Person in the World or A Different Man. If you have seen it, y'all have seen either of those.
I haven't
movies.
seen either of those, so I'm not familiar.
Oh, she's amazing. She's going to be in the new Welcome to Career movie with Elle Fanning and Stellan Skarsgård called Sentimental Value.
Okay.
Yeah. Myself personally, having seen the first season of The Last of Us and some of the second season, Pedro can do a really good pissed off dad.
Yeah.
This would have been but I still think this would have been in new avenues for Pedro to really explore, because I feel like Archer and Joel maybe are one of the same, but I think Archer is going through a really a very different emotional hurdle in that kind of one, to where it's this a lot of anger and confusion, but also a lot of this fear, and I feel like Joel doesn't really necessarily get that. That being said, would people want a fourth movie hitting 2025 summer with Pedro? I'm not too sure, but
no, I'm biased.
But he would have been great. But I'm perfectly fine with how Brolin is in this, because I think it's a really compelling performance that honestly at the end got me crying.
Yeah.
I did just look up how much the cast was affected, and Brian Tyree Henry was supposed to be the Josh Brolin role, but dropped out.
Oh, wow!
And and then the only person that stayed with the only person in the cast that stayed was Austin Abrams, which is the drug addict.
God, he was good. God, he was good.
I love that actor. I wish he was in more stuff. But
did y'all ever see Wolves from last year?
I don't think so.
Oh yeah. With George Clooney and Brad Pitt.
Yeah, with George Clooney. Yeah, terrible movie, but he's the best part of it.
I don't think it's terrible, but I'm the biggest sucker for Brad and George. So you do a shitty movie with those two, I'm in.
It would have been better if I could see the movie, actually see it, because it was too dark.
What I'm interested in hearing from you guys is a lot of, I remember when the movie first even came out, when the trailers came out, everyone was like, oh, what is this going to be about? Because every horror movie is an allegory for familial trauma, whatever, right? So people were already making their theories known before the movie even came out. So as far as the deeper meaning of the movie, is this an allegory for something else? Is it a metaphor for something? Obviously the most I guess common one I've seen so far is it's an allegory for a school shooting. I mean, we are in spoiler territory now, right? I should have announced that.
We're long past it.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, there's literally a part where they show like an AR-15 or I don't know what type of gun it is, but I mean it's right there. It's blatant, but I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be a metaphor for. I'm kind of at a loss, honestly. What do you guys think?
I can definitely see that allegory. To be honest, it actually feels more overt than what I was thinking, because of because it is doing a lot of the symbolism that we've seen in the last 5 years, especially out of the news from the Uvalde shooting a couple of years ago in Texas. So it's kind of I really appreciate that Zach Cregger was pretty gracious and kind of that kind of sympathy with these kind of events, because you can really get really traumatizing when tackling these kinds of themes. I also thought it was kind of a weird, interesting socioeconomic commentary, like Barbarian was, on how that's kind of like about navigating the maze of urban decay left behind by, like actual cities and states and governments. This one's about kind of, the fear of, what our children are really consuming, what's at school or even at home. And, there's a lot of discussion about today of what really are our children learning in our classrooms. I think this movie wants to say is like teachers, they can be complicated human beings, but they do generally want the best for our children, and are approaching their teaching and the most apolitical way that they can. And I think that's really showing that with Julia Garner's crossing of ethical boundaries. But it's kind of like asking the questions of like, a lot of people knows what are going on in our classroom, but what really is going on at home? Should we be asking those questions too? Should we be questioning, those parents or people who live in that and those particular children's houses, because they can live with full-fledged adults with really, really ugly views of people.
Yeah, very true. I mean, this child's parents were essentially comatose for how long, and no one knew, because we mind our own business, and the only one who maybe sensed something was off was his teacher, right? And she's told to back off by the principal because we don't go there. So yeah, I never thought of it like that, but that's an interesting perspective as well.
I guess I'll play devil's advocate and kind of say, I don't know, like, I know people can get a bunch of meaning out of this film if they want to. I personally just kind of felt like he was wanting to make a cool film about witchcraft.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how can I make it super fucked up?
Valid.
That what kind of makes it better, though. It's just like, you don't need to think about like what this film is about to really have a great time with it, because on the surface it's a blast already.
Yeah. No, and I do think, I personally think that the assault rifle appearing, I think that was just being very blunt and very like much being like, hey, the kids, and they even kind of say it in the film that they're being weaponized. The kids are like one way or another. They're being, and before it was revealed that it was witchcraft, because the aunt says, and I'm gonna, it's just what I do. I'm gonna jump around a little bit and I'll try to come swing it back. But the aunt brings up when she's trying to scare her nephew that she could make the mom and dad eat themselves.
Right.
And I was like, is she going to, or is she like doing like a classic Grimm's Tale witch story and like harvesting these kids like for food? Because she says like, these kids will make me better, but then that never really comes about again.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. What was she just lying to get him to do it? I don't know. I would have loved more of her. Like, what's that diva's story? I need her backstory.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like she's not even the aunt.
True.
Like, because she could just be using witchcraft to, make them think that.
Because if she was always that weird, like, why would they let her into their house? I don't know.
And another reason why I think that is because when the dad and Alex are in the car together, he's like, your aunt's coming, and he's like, I don't even know her, and he's like, I don't really either. Like,
right.
So I feel like you would know enough about your sister-in-law.
It's kind of a retelling of the Pied Piper story also, you know, how the outcasted gentleman just lures the town's children with witchcraft, and they're never seen again either.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a thought, then I lost it. Sorry.
It's a flute, right? He plays his flute, and the kids are mesmerized by the flute, and they follow him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right, Trevor.
So yeah, it's and the title "Weapons" is obviously talking about the weaponization of our youth, and so that's really kind of, you know, these are going to be people one day that are going to rule the nation. So, you know.
Sure. So we need to be mindful of what we're teaching them and who they're growing up to be. Yeah.
I just looked close at my screen, and I just noticed in the poster I have up, the bell has a 6.
Yeah, it did in the movie too. Yeah,
it did. I don't remember that at all.
I do remember that. Yeah, because I remember it being like, "What's the significance of that?" But then I don't know if it had one or not. I was always like, "What about 216?" Like. Or 217. Was it 217? I was like, does it add up to something? Like, you know, I was thinking about that too.
Well, does that, and then is triangles known to be like a witch thing? Because that's like even in the title.
Oh, they are. Yeah. Yeah, you know, remember Charmed, the power of 3, the triangle?
Oh, okay. Yeah, power of 3.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it more so than have seen a lot of it.
So before I forget, I also wanted to say, one thing I loved about this movie that I feel like really separates like a great movie from an okay movie or not very good movie is this movie was so good at showing and not telling like what the story that it was trying to portray. So, for example, are you ever watching a movie and you think, this character would never be saying this out loud. They're saying it so we can understand what's going on. And it just sounds very unnatural, right? And there's one scene in particular when she is at the principal's home and she's doing her witchcraft and she's wrapping the hair and snaps the stick. And then he kills his partner, significant other. Yeah. Not a single word is said, right? But immediately after that, he takes the teacher's hair, wraps it around, snaps it, and we know exactly what is about to happen because the movie showed us, right? And it didn't have to, like, no one had to give this monologue that would never happen in real life. Not that this stuff is happening in real life, but you know what I mean. So I thought that was such a great example of a movie like showing and not telling and making it was just, made it that much more just sincere and smart. Like, it's a smart horror movie to me.
Yeah. Adding to that, there are really subtle details that Zach Cregger trusts the audience to really pick up on. He doesn't want to spell anything out because he knows that we can recite the alphabet, basically. And there's a really brilliant moment early on. I thought it was like, okay, this guy really has a particular plan he wants to go about this. There's a scene early on where somebody's car gets vandalized, and then we jump to a different character, and what they're going through, and we see them caught in a certain situation with a door that is the wrong paint color, and then we see we find out who did the vandalism just by looking at what paint they're really carrying, and Zach and Cregger's not showing us that character doing it because it's already happened. He's not trying. He's aware that if we rewatch something, we're just going to get bored again. So he has to really just structure it to where we're just constantly getting just new information, so we can really just understand everything that's going on within that last chapter.
You know, some people say that he still hasn't gotten that green paint.
He's still waiting for it. Oh no.
Oh, that's amazing. That was great.
All right. Anything else to say about the deeper meaning, the metaphor, the allegory?
No.
All right. So we kind of covered this already, but I was asking, does anything about like tonally about the movie surprise you, Trevor? You were saying no because of his comedy background. I wasn't super aware of his comedy background, so I was like, oh, this is funnier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Although Barbarian did have like some comedic undertones too. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like as far as the tone was concerned?
I feel like the biggest surprise tonally was maybe at the end where everything just comes to a wrap and you get this really extremely funny bit that is really violent and bloody, but as it's happening, and you're just like, this is so insane and so wild. It is just so funny how it's just happening, how this is going down, because what's happening is inherently a very funny thing. Just these like horde of children just chasing this old woman down through the suburbs, and then literally tearing her apart limb from limb. And as I was thinking about back on it when the movie had ended, I was like, there's really no other way you can really deliver that scene. But it's shot in such an awesome way, though. Like there's a Jason Bourne window shot that he does. I was just like, that's crazy.
Yeah, the theater was laughing really hard during that scene when the kids were just running and screaming and
Yeah.
It was very funny.
Yeah, and as somebody who I saw Barbarian opening night, and it was a very interesting air in that room because nobody knew what they were expecting. And I find Barbarian to be a genuinely hilarious movie. I think about Justin Long going in the creepy basement just to get the measurements.
So just real quick, do you think, because as someone that just recently watched Barbarian, do you think that the comedy really shifts in when Justin comes onto the screen? Because I think the first half is really tense, and then definitely when Justin, especially not necessarily the scene in Barbarian where he's getting like accused of assaulting someone, but when he ventures back to the house and then everything that plays out once he's in the house, do you think that's where the comedy kicks in there? Because I didn't find the first half very funny. The same with this film. I didn't find the first half very funny, but then like the second half, definitely.
I found it pretty funny in the first half, actually. I don't know if it's because I'm just a sick bastard. I found the way these characters reacting to like some of their social situations pretty funny, except for a few parts which were like pretty maybe pretty pulpy but pretty terrifying. There's this one scene with Julia Garner in a liquor store that is extremely visceral, and it doesn't really get too bloody, but it's a part that really stands on my mind as pretty intense. But I find these characters kind of funny, especially how Archer reacts to his nightmare in the first half.
Yes.
That's
true.
No, that one was good. Yeah, I had a really good theater. Not that they were participating along with like the and laughing and whatnot, but they were quiet and not on their phone, which I appreciate that. If they don't want to laugh or anything or scream, that's fine as long as you're quiet, when you need to be. But that was one moment that, especially myself, and I'm pretty sure my girlfriend who saw the film with me, like we did laugh at that, where he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, that got a laugh in my theater too. Yeah.
So that moment, and then really the only other moment in the first half that like made me laugh was the of like the kind of I think just like the awkward thing where Alden is like, "Do you have anything that's going to poke me?" And then it pokes him, and he has like the freak out about it. Something about that, the energy, kind of the manic energy, kind of like made me go kind of like not laugh, but kind of like grin, like this guy's.
I couldn't understand why he was so freaked out at first, but then he said,
it sounds like he's an addict. Yeah, it sounds like. Well, he was asking if he's like has
Oh.
AIDS, so I think he's just an addict.
Okay,
Like,
I assume. I mean, I
June
know he was an
Diane,
alcoholic. I never thought that there
yeah.
would be.
I mean, I don't know
drug
for
addict.
sure,
No,
but
you're
I mean,
maybe.
but yeah, definitely by how much like June Diane Raphael's
Ah.
character like was so. I mean, obviously the cheating is a whole thing, but then the him crashing out and drinking. So, but yeah, I do kind of wish, like, I don't know, I wish we would have maybe gotten a little more with like the police scene of it. I just feels like the like June Diane Raphael's character and the chief of police, they just kind of disappear. Mm-hmm. I wish we maybe got a little more out of them. But I mean, it's then you're just maybe putting too many characters into the film for the sake of it.
You can only do so much. Yeah. All right. And so as far as like the Cregger filmography, I feel like I've only seen this one in Barbarian. I think he has a couple more.
I think he only has the 3, right?
3?
Well, he there's a kind of a movie at the segmented through like the through the final season of Whitest Kids You Know called The Civil War on Drugs, and it's about these people revolting on a marijuana plant in the 1800s. It is very funny, but for anybody listening to this podcast, I in good conscience cannot recommend Miss March. It is a painful watch that it does have its funny moments, but it's pretty. It hasn't been dated well, and kind of retrospective, it's kind of gross.
No, it is kind of gross, but unlike a film that I personally still love to this day, like The Girl Next Door, which not necessarily has aged perfect, but it's still but it still holds enough like relevance to today. Like, because while the I mean, I'm going to go a whole spiral, but I agree with you, Trevor. I do think that when I watched Miss March, I was expecting it back in probably not 2009, but probably in my later high school years. I watched it, and I was expecting American Pie, maybe with a mix of Girl Next Door, and then it's just an awkward film. And I have not seen it in forever, so Trevor, now that I know you've seen it. Is it the one where he inherits the Playboy Mansion, or is that something?
No, it's the one where it's kind of like begins as American Pie, where he thinks he's about to like lose his virginity on graduation night, and then he gets into a coma, and then he finds out that his girlfriend from high school is Miss March from the Playboy magazine. So him and his friend go to do a road trip to LA to reconcile with the girlfriend.
I feel like I have seen that, but I'm still thinking of something completely different. Because there's a movie that I feel like was advertised so hard at like Hollywood Videos that was like from the random producer of American Pie, It's just,
from the twisted mind of blah blah blah.
Yeah. So,
but outside of that movie being kind of a little gross, it does kind of feel like two guys who come from sketch comedy background but haven't really gotten their footing on really how to produce a movie yet, because it does kind of feel like a little like Barbarian and Weapons, to where they're kind of like multiple stories kind of like not really having to do with each other, and they're just comedy sketch after comedy sketch and comedy sketch, but it's about these two people living in comedy sketches. And the thing is, though, they're not really that funny, so it's if you, I tried considering rewatching it. I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah, definitely my ranking, which I shared in the group, is 100% at this time. Maybe after rewatching Weapons, it may change, but Weapons is my first, then Barbarian, and then Miss March. Yeah, since I don't really remember it. So
it's been like a year since I watched Barbarian, but I really liked it. Like, to me right now, I feel like they're level. Like, I'm not thinking one is better than the other. They're kind of on an even playing field right now. That might change though once I like rewatch both of them. That's where I'm at right now with it.
I think Barbarian and Weapons are both really big, audacious swings. And I can see people going really either way. Me, I just think this is a massive step up, and he's really coming into his own here. I think his camera work is even more like cutting and imaginative in this, I think. And I think
good.
and I rewatched Barbarian the other day, and the camera work in that movie is crazy.
There was one shot, I think they put a GoPro like on a door. Do you know what I'm talking about? They were trying to open it. It was so cool.
And I think there's even kind of a bigger swing with the structure, because I saw with one of my best friends who actually didn't vibe with the movie at all because how it was structured. He found himself kind of because he compared it to Pulp Fiction. It's like this is like Pulp Fiction is a horror movie, and I don't like Pulp Fiction at all. And I'm like, I understand that, because I can feel when that final chapter begins, I felt people just go like, oh, okay, get disappointing on how they were getting fed the rest of the movie. But I thought it was brilliant. I thought it really worked, and I'm gonna see this again to show my partner, and I feel like I'm gonna have even love even more about it. It's by far like not only my favorite movie from him, but it's my favorite movie of the year so far.
It is interesting that he is like, as I just learned recently, like within a few days ago about his comedy background. And so it's interesting that like him coming from sketch comedy into making horror films has been executed so well. And you could pull similarities to Jordan Peele coming from sketch comedy going into horror, and then being like super unique in their ability to translate what they've kind of learned through sketch comedy into horror. I personally obviously he's one film behind Peele as far as the number of films, but I definitely right now, just back to back Barbarian and Weapons, I think this is more like I enjoy these two films more than if I went like Get Out to Us. I think that sophomore run is weaker than this sophomore run, if you want to call it a sophomore run. He obviously directed Miss March, but as far as horror, I would say this when you compare Peele to him, I think horror wise, I think that this film just feels more like he knew what he was doing from the start, and he pulled it off by the end. And I think Us, it feels like, I love Us, but I think that Get Out was such a big thing, and he got the Academy Award. I think maybe he was a little bit, I think he might tweak the script a little much for Us. But
I found that pretty interesting, because I think this would go as great in a double bill with Us, as these are like bigger swings and they're sophomore films, and I bet they're kind of tackling socioeconomic anxieties about the underbelly of America. And I think it's better than Get Out, but I think Peele, he almost bought the script, by the way. Monkey Paw was almost behind this, and then they lost the bid to Warner Brothers. But I think Cregger and Peele are kind of.
Doesn't this film kind of trick you, where you like don't think it's Warner Brothers? Because I kept thinking it was Neon or A24, and then
it definitely feels Neon-esque. I could see that.
I guess so. Yeah. But I just think Peele and Cregger really are the American horror filmmakers right now to look at, because I think they really get what the American consciousness really fears, unlike other people. I'd say Eggers is also included in that conversation, but he's more old timey. With
what about Aster?
Aster, well,
is he horror though? Would you consider him like?
I would still call it horror. It's riding the edge right now.
Sure.
I mean, I would say any film that gives you severe anxiety is a horror.
Okay.
True. The more I watch Midsummer, the less I consider it a horror, though. It's more of a psychodrama of I think, but which is pretty terrifying still. Like kind of like how The Shining is a psychodrama, I think.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Okay. Can I, Cassie? Do you have more questions on the slate?
No, that was the last question.
Yeah.
Okay. I am curious because there's one shot or scene that really stood out as my favorite, and it made me kind of hold my breath in the theater. And so I'm curious if you guys have a similar kind of favorite. And mine is when she falls asleep in the car and we see the door open and the woman kind of like oddly not runs, but kind of like stumbles out with the scissor. Yeah, exactly. If you're watching the video, Trevor's doing it pretty precisely.
Like that.
Like waddling to her car.
And I love how the camera just focuses, like it follows the woman to the front door. And then after that, it just stays on the front door. And then she never attempts to get into the front door. She just goes over to the passenger, but you never see her do that. It's all noise. And it's so well captured because you got the sound of the car door opening. And then you got when it's obvious she sits down because the car kind of shakes.
Yeah.
And
it's the implication of what is happening that is scarier than actually.
And obviously they needed to show her cutting the hair to further on the like what the hair will be used for in the future. Later. But I did think that was maybe where it was going to cut to like before knowing what the hair was for, but after they introduced the name cards, I was just like, oh, well, it seems like they should have like her like about the cutter with the scissors and cut the black. But I mean that scene was just tense. And
I think I might have like been looking away because I was so freaked out and I didn't want to like jump out of my chair. No, because
it's gonna cut her ear.
Intense.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, no,
what
definitely.
What about you guys? Any ones that stand out?
My favorite shot is actually a very innocuous shot, but it's the shot from the police car when Alden Ehrenreich is running down Austin Abrams during that chase. It's a very small, intense chase, but I thought it was kind of the way it was shot was pretty exhilarating.
Yeah, no, I like shot wise, I was bringing up before, I can't remember who it was, but they were like trying to open the door and it was locked, and I think they had a GoPro on the door and it was like the POV like from the door, and it was just like really creative and unique, and I thought it was so cool. Another one that was really tense for me was when Josh Brolin gets down into the basement and he was looking for his son. That freaked me out towards the end.
No, that did, because you brought up at the beginning, Cassie, that there was quite a lot of jump scares for you. And I am curious, like, what would be the ones that like made you sincerely jump? Because me, that one made me jump, and I felt kind of embarrassed about it when she popped up.
I know, I didn't see it coming.
But whatever ones like made you like jump, like
that one, like, big time. I mean, a lot of the times it's the music, the sound effects. Like nothing even that scary happens. It's just the music that makes you jump. That's I'm having a hard time even remembering any specific instances.
Because I would say the other one that made me not jump but kind of go whoa because I predicted it was going to happen was the loud pounding on the door.
Sure, yeah, that one. Because there was a really long pause, like it didn't happen until after you would think it should happen. Like she stood there for a very long time. Yeah. And then you think you're in the clear, and that's when the pounding happens.
And in that scene, she broke the cardinal rule of horror films, which is you don't leave the door wide open and walk down to your sidewalk.
Right.
I mean, hello. All of this could have been avoided, probably.
I do think the jump scares were pretty effective here, though, because they are actually scary and actually stay in your mind, and they're actually kind of like a part of the character's story. So
Yeah.
it's like at the one at the end of Archer's Dream adds to one of the best moments in the movie, I think.
Yeah. Scary.
So
I just hate jumping in my seat and looking like an idiot. So that's just a me thing.
Me too.
But yeah, they're effective for sure.
Do you was there a moment in this film that made you kind of go, like kind of like you said you covered your eyes or looked away during like the scissor part? Was that like because you expected something worse to happen there?
Yeah. I think so.
But did you turn away like during the more gruesome parts, like the
the
headbutting, for instance?
No, no, not at all. Not at all. That's interesting. No, I feel like I kind of like look away in anticipation when it's very quiet.
Okay.
The in your face brutality is easier for me. Yeah, because I know what's happening, because it's happening right in front of me. It's when it's very quiet and I'm imagining all the things that could happen next that I get kind of scared and need to cover my eyes. Yeah.
I think maybe one of the not the outcome, like as far as the shot that we see, but I think one of the more like brutal shots that like I kind of like was when like you're following the chase and the principal's character just runs directly into the car, and but then you see the aftermath of like the brains and everything. And because I'm so used to like Terrifier and that kind of thing, like during that kind of aftermath, I'm like, oh, well, I'm used to that kind of gore.
Yeah, it's just brain. Like, who cares?
But it's just kind of like the shock of like, oh, I thought that chase was going to go longer.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But those kids that the end scene, they were dedicated. That was a good. So
I was just imagining like directing those kids. I can just hear like, okay, guys, when we say action, you're gonna scream and run and wave your arms. Like
I can imagine those kids just had a blast.
I know. I would have loved to have been on set that day and witnessed it. It must have been total chaos, but like so fun for everyone involved.
I was imagining like the kids like with the son of Josh Brolin's character. I was just like, when they focus on that where Alex feeds him and it like drips down his neck and they like kind of like goes up the spoon, and I'm like, that would be a no for me as an actor.
That was the grossest part, eating. Yeah. He didn't heat that soup up either. That's probably nasty.
Could have gave a little range.
Soup.
Could have got some tomato, but had to get some noodle.
At least microwave. I don't know. I mean, overall, I thought it was really fun. I was entertained the whole time. Like I said, apart from being really nitpicky about like feeling like the end kind of dragged for me a little bit, and also feeling like the piece of hair she cut from Julia Garner's head was way longer than her hair should be in real life. That was another thing that bugged me. No, I thought it was so creative. It was so creatively shot. It was just tense and well acted, funny, scary, all the things a good movie should be. Like, so if we're doing our ratings, I would say full, a must watch.
That's and just for those new to the podcast or the site, a full popcorn is a must see. Half full popcorn is a maybe, and a spilled over popcorn is a mistake, and to stay away from it. Cassie has given it a must, and I also would give it a must. I think that it's definitely my current favorite of the year. I think that this film really sucked me in. I was fully on board for the mystery of it all, the horror, the performances. I mean, I am curious about going in and rewatching and seeing if it stays at the top. But I just think that this director, and especially, I'm not sure if I have not looked at his cinematographer, if he's the one doing the cinematography, or if he has, because I know some directors do their own.
Sure.
But whoever his cinematographer is, I mean, they're fantastic as well, and I hope they continue to work together. And I'm definitely looking forward to whatever he ends up doing next, because I mean, his name was attached to Companion earlier this year as far as producing, and I also love Companion. So I mean, it's definitely, his name holds some strength to it, or I can't think of the word, but
holds some weight in the
horror holds some
genre.
Weight to it. Yeah. So it's and similar to Peele right now. I mean, you see Peele on like Him, it gets me kind of excited to see it. So I definitely recommend going out and watching it.
Again, as I mentioned, this is also my favorite of the year. As Kyle put it together in last week for Together, I'm giving this a golden popcorn, as this will probably remain my favorite of the year, because I think I can't stop thinking about it. This is just a meaty, compelling horror movie that's scary as hell, funny as hell, and it's just a wild and nutty ride from start to finish that I'm just gonna be singing to the heavens about for a bit. So a full golden bag for me, a must.
A caramel popcorn.
Yes.
Cool. Good movie, man. We love a good movie. All right. Thanks for listening to the Cinefied podcast. You can find more of our episodes as well as all our written reviews on cinefied.com, including our review of Weapons written by me, Cassie Hager. You can follow us on Letterboxd as well as all major social media platforms to stay up to date with our reviews. Now pop some popcorn, grab a drink, and remember to stay Cinefied.